Family, what's up?
Hello there, cousin. How are you?
I am doing amazing. Thank you for coming on Lincoln All Women. So how have you been powering through the pandemic?
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. Powering through the pandemic has been very interesting. I've had some different life changes go on, and I have a daughter that started kindergarten, which has been very interesting. Just explaining to her the difference of having to be at home for a little bit. Her new normal is very different from what I anticipated for her. We anticipated the first day of school, having the little signs and having your little outfit on and your uniform. But that shifted to having on just a regular outfit and logging on to your computer. But I did still try to create a level of normalcy for her by
Mhm.
having her hold up her little sign and take pictures outside, but she was kind of over it. So, yeah,
Mm.
it's been interesting, especially for a smaller child.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't realize this was like her first year entering to school. So she
y-
didn't get to experience what kids usually experience.
right. So she's been to daycare and she went to pre-K3 and pre-K4, but this was her big moment to go to what she likes to refer to as big girl school. So
Mhm.
it wasn't the drop off in the line or anything like that. But luckily, she got that a little bit later on because originally our school district in Tennessee started a little bit later, but we were
Mhm.
able to open up like in October. So we had to kind of postpone that moment. So we still took the pictures and did the uniform and all that kind of stuff in October.
So how is she feeling about school?
She loves school. Um, that is one thing I am very thankful for, that she loves to learn. So she loves school. She was excited just picking up her computer at the beginning of the pandemic. She wanted to kind of squeeze past the secretary and try to see how she can get into school because she was like, I
Mhm.
want to see what's in that big building. But we had to let her know because of safety and all that kind of stuff. It was best for her to just kind of stay outside. But she loves it. Like she gets excited about meeting her classmates, meeting her teacher. Her school did a pretty good job at trying to make sure that they created opportunities for the kids to engage prior to school. And then her
Mhm.
school has also a Facebook group. So the moms kind of got together and were like, okay, well, can we meet and social distance at the playground and things like that? So we didn't participate in that because, yeah, I don't
Do
know.
you remember your first time when you started school? Do you remember?
I have no clue. I wish I had great memories like that, but no, I don't.
You can't think of it at all.
No, no. I wish I could. I think I remember college. Yeah, like my mom dropping me off at college,
Yeah.
but like as far as like elementary school, junior high school, or high school, no.
And speaking of college, we both went to the same school. I know that I'm
Yes,
rocking a
you.
different HBCU today. Just
That's
happened to be one of
okay.
my favorite sweatshirts, but we went to the Tennessee State.
That's right. The Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee, and they had school different this year as well. Actually, my background's in high school counseling, so in talking to a young lady that actually was very integral in making sure that my transition from working in my office to working at home worked well. She actually worked with my daughter at home. Um, Talking to her about preparing for college, and she's a senior in high school, and
Mhm.
so it was very challenging for high school students because here in Tennessee they still have not been able to go back into the building face to face. So
Mhm.
their whole senior year experience thus far has been virtual, and she is a student athlete, so she wasn't able to do athletics the way she originally envisioned. So, of course, that impacts scholarships and
Mhm.
just the whole culminating events of your high school experience. That they have kind of missed a lot of that. I know our district is trying to simulate a lot of that for them in a virtual way, but it's still not the same as, being
Mhm.
able to walk in that first day of school saying, hey, I'm a senior, and being able to have your senior walk down the hall and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. So Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
I've been
different.
thinking about that as well. Like, like you were talking about with Ivy, how she wasn't able to have that traditional experience. And then I think about, the seniors and then college students, like their first year, not being able to have that experience of being on the yard, having homecoming.
Oh, homecoming was crushing. Living
Yeah, like
in
tell me
a
about that. Like what has been going on in your circles when that season was happening? Like what what was going on?
Oh my gosh. When I tell you, I have friends, I mean, I graduated from TSU over 20 years ago. When I tell you, I have friends that's our annual connection. And so, like, I have friends that try to do like little virtual get togethers, but it was still just not the same.
Yeah,
I mean, because living in a city where, you have a couple of HBCUs, our city literally just, for the Black community, we shut down for homecoming. Like, even
hmm,
if you didn't go to TSU, like, it's all
that's what you
about
do.
homecoming.
Yeah, yeah.
So people were sad. I mean, and because of social distancing, we couldn't even really like do like cookouts or tailgates at people's houses. You just kind of was like, I know they did have like a couple of virtual day parties with DJs and stuff like that. So,
Oh, they did.
they threw on
Okay.
the songs that you played like back in the day, but it wasn't the
Yeah.
same.
And I seen also too, I don't recall like what organization, but they hosted like a virtual HBCU experience. And they had certain celebrities participate in that. So it's like we're really trying to scramble around to figure out how we can still, have a good time. But it's nothing like the in person.
Yeah, I think it's nothing like the HBCU experience. I'm not knocking PWIs or any other schools, but I think um, attending an HBCU and graduating from an HBCU, there's a level of camaraderie you develop that you may not necessarily develop. There are lifelong relationships you develop. There's a level of resilience you develop. I mean, while you're there, you feel like the financial aid line and all this kind of stuff is like crazy and getting purged. But when you look back at the resilience that built in you to make you the person that you are today, I think those things are just invaluable.
Mm-hmm. So how would you encourage a young woman who didn't get to have that experience this year to, wanted to continue to pursue her education? And particularly HBCU, because that's what you pride yourself in, HBCU education.
For a young woman or a young man who has been kind of, I'm not going to say robbed of the experience, but the experience has been kind of postponed for them. Um, just to look for ways, especially with the state of our nation now and all these social injustices, look for ways to engage in um, HBCUs that way, because I know, like, being a part of a sorority, there's still different things that HBCUs and sororities and fraternities are doing to keep young people engaged and keeping them, still trying to get them that experience. So it may
Mm-hmm.
not be to the level in which they thought. I know, like, from my sorority at Fisk University, one of the things that the young ladies were doing were, even though they met their incoming classmates virtually, they were still sending like little care packages to them
Okay.
and still checking on them virtually to make sure that they were fine. They were doing the same thing at Tennessee State. Um, so I think it's really important to still look for opportunities that you can be engaged with an HBCU.
Mm-hmm. And so it seems like when you were in school 20 plus years ago, you had a full experience. You're part of sorority. What is your sorority, and how do you feel like that has impacted your life, and as far as what it's added to your life for young ladies who are like, I'm considering that, but what would that look like for me?
Well, I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and I would say through college, it was great. I was fortunate enough to get involved in sorority when I was a sophomore. in college. And so I know some people do it later, but I said, hey, if I'm going to do it, I want the full experience. I want to have as many years as possible undergrad. Because when I graduated, I went into adult life. So sorority life was not really like my primary focus. But since I have reactivated with the sorority, and I think now it has been probably about 10 years, because I don't have any like sisters here in Nashville, and I do have my sister cousins in Milwaukee, but I felt like I
That's
needed a
me.
sense
I'm
of,
one of them.
yes, I feel like I needed a sense of sisterhood here in Nashville. And so I was able to connect with a graduate chapter, which is Upsilon Sigma here in Nashville, Tennessee. And they reignited my desire for serving in the community. The social life was amazing. Like I get to connect in different circles that I wouldn't have normally exposed myself to. It pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit, learning more about not the sisterhood of the sorority, but also learning the business side of the sorority, which I think a lot of people, especially when you're younger, you're really caught up in, oh, this is so much fun, but it is really a lifelong commitment. And if you're interested in serving your community and engaging in different social action activities and actually learning the business, because I think the business carries over into different aspects of your life. It was a wonderful opportunity. And at this point, I think I've been in the sorority about 25 years.
Okay.
And so it is, I mean, again, it's amazing. And I've met some wonderful people around the country.
And so how are you ladies staying connected? Are you having virtual parties? Like, what are you doing
Oh my
to stay
gosh.
connected during this pandemic season?
We have actually had a virtual national conference, which was super cool. And that I'm sure behind the scenes, they found it to be a little challenging, but on the exterior, it flowed pretty seamlessly. So you were able to still conduct the business of the sorority on a national level. So that was a national way to connect, but locally we still have our monthly meetings. And then my sorority sisters that we're a lot closer, we still do Zooms. And then we did a kind of girls weekend and brought our kids a couple of weeks ago. So we make sure that they stay connected.
Okay, so your daughters are like, they are a part of your circle. They are part of what's going on with your sisterhood.
Oh yes, my daughter is. She thinks that she is a Sigma girl. In her mind, that's exactly what she is.
That's beautiful because it's that generational baton that's passed down from the things that you've done, in your educational experience. And so, do you think Ivy is going to go to Tennessee State, or what are you thinking?
Actually, if she went to Tennessee State, that would be fine. But I am a parent who does not believe in pushing things on my child based on what I did. I want her to do what's best for her. I do promote her going to college, but my overall goal is for her to be her best self. So if her best self is being an entrepreneur, I support that. If her best self is going to a trade school, I support that. If she wants to go to a 4-year school, that's fine. I would prefer her go to a HBCU, but the way it falls, wherever the coins are, that's where she's gonna go.
And then talking about supporting, like, how is it like in this time of supporting her doing virtual learning?
Supporting her doing virtual learning has been very interesting because I have realized one thing about myself, which is I'm a mama bear. And so I had to pull back from that. And so that's why I had I had 2 young ladies that were high school seniors that would come in and work with her or kind of monitor her flow while I, work from home as well. Because I wanted her to do it the way I thought she should do it. And I realized I had to step back, that
Mm,
I wasn't allowing her to be her authentic self. I
mm,
was forcing her to be the one that I wanted her to be,
mm-hmm.
but that wasn't serving her well. So we
Was
had
that
to,
like a smooth transition for you, or did it
um,
take a little time?
it took a little reflection, but I realized, just like I want her to be her best self, I had to operate in my best self. So I created her some, work, some school space, and I created myself an office space. And they monitored her downstairs during school time, and I was able to work upstairs during my work time.
So you had that support. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Now, without those ladies, bless her heart, I don't know what the baby would do.
Yeah, because I'm thinking too, like, the students, working from home, being at home, like that has to be that transition. It's very different, you
It
know.
is. I
Like
mean,
like you haven't experienced it. I haven't experienced it in my educational experience. This pandemic is just it's like a new normal for us.
it is very challenging, and especially to explain to a 5-year-old why she can't go to school. Explain
Mhm.
to a 5-year-old, like if they're having birthday parties, why she can't go to the birthday parties. Like somebody had a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. They ended up canceling it, but that's a hard pill to kind of swallow for a 5-year-old. But finally, one thing I've learned about children is that they're extremely resilient, so they can accept more than we think they can. So finally, she told me the other day, she said, Mom, this pandemic thing, I really don't like it because it keeps me from
Yeah.
doing all the things that I like to do. I said, well, join the club because I'm sure it does the same thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. But she just said, I just don't like it.
Yeah, she said, this COVID, I don't like it. She said, because I always have to remember to wear my mask. And I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, but it keeps us, your mask, washing your hands, taking your vitamins, pay attention to your surroundings. That's what keeps you safe. And she said, yeah, I don't want to be sick, but I just really don't like it.
So what does success look like for you in your home with managing work? Because you're educators, managing work and then managing Ivy. Like, what does success look like for you?
Success looks like for me clear boundaries, to-do lists, and giving myself grace. So one thing the pandemic has allowed me to do is engage with Ivy on a level that I never thought I'd be able to. So each day, before we get started, we talk about gratitude. So what we're thankful for, and it can be the smallest thing. So those are the kind of things that I wouldn't be able to do. And if she's having a not so great morning, or I'm not having a not so great morning, we extend ourselves grace. And so that helps us. And then the other thing that helps us is clear boundaries. I mean, this is school time. It's not playtime. It's not, oh, I can watch TV in between my classes. No, this is school time. And for me, working from home, this is work time. It doesn't mean scroll through social media all day. It doesn't mean talk on the phone with your friends. It means focus and do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of things that have kind of kept us grounded and focused during this time.
So how would you encourage your students if they're struggling with success at this time? Because it's a lot on their plate right now managing. Like, how would because you have a background, education, counseling, so you know all about it. And so how do you encourage your students to, okay, this is what success can look like for you in this time versus this is what success may have looked like for you previous to us being prior to us being in the pandemic?
For students, I would recommend they start with setting goals, and start small. So for most students being high school or college, you deal with semesters. So chart out your goal for this month, and then chart out your larger goals for the semester. And then if the month seems like too far off, chart off your goal for this week. What am I going to be successful in this week that can help me with my overall goal for this semester? So, and extend yourself grace. Okay, today I was super tired. I didn't finish everything I needed to do. Okay, what am I going to do to make sure that this happens this week? At the end of the week, check in with yourself or get an accountability partner, be it a friend, a parent, whoever you trust and value, and say, hey, have I gotten this done for this week? And then how does that play into each week, plays into a quarter, plays into a semester, and then look at where you are at the end of that semester.
Gotcha. That's very helpful. So in moving forward, as we're going through, things are different. Is there any like new hobbies you picked up? Anything new you're doing?
Oh, I'm doing a lot of reflection.
Mhm.
Sometimes that can be a blessing and that can be a curse
So
because
is
you
that
learn.
like you journaling?
I wish I was a great journaler. I'm not. I'm a great post-it note person.
Mhm.
As far as like our gratitude moments, Ivy and our gratitude moments, we do write those. I write those down at the beginning of the day. But I am not a great journaler. So I do a lot of reflection moments and things that I want to strive towards, and I put them on post-it notes and I put them on my mirror in the bathroom. So that helps me. And then been exploring more podcasts,
Mhm.
which I love those because I like to hear other people's perspectives and I like to just hear different storytelling.
Okay.
And then the other thing is I have really been figuring out that I enjoy um, decorating my home and finding different outfits on a dime.
Hmm. Well, the decoration, we definitely have that in common because I love to do that as well. I'm always looking
Yeah.
for something like, what can I add to the house?
Yes. And so like I kind of come up with a vision for like, okay, what, or I see a picture that inspires me and I'm like, okay, how can I create that in my space on
Mhm.
my budget?
And so, in all of this, just looking at it from a larger scope, what does fulfillment look like to you now?
Fulfillment is peace. Like no matter what happens, just remain peaceful about the whole situation. So that is the most fulfilling thing to me. Like knowing that, my daughter and I and my family are healthy. And that's the key thing for me, just peace. Everything else is, it can come and go at a drop of a dime. But what's the most fulfilling thing to me is just having a peaceful home and a peaceful spirit.
Mhm. And having that peace, it takes work, so how are you managing the voices, the outside voices, the world voices?
Well, I think the key thing that has really helped me most recently is the book study that you have engaged the lovely ladies in our family in around boundaries.
Yeah.
So identifying clear boundaries in different areas of my life. So identifying clear boundaries at work and being able to advocate for myself at work, and then identifying clear boundaries with my child and clear boundaries with personal relationships.
And like that book that got us together.
Girl, life
That got us
changing.
together. It was recommended to me by my therapist. And so I thought that it would be amazing to start off with the girls in my world. And I have many, but you guys, are the closest into my heart. And so I'm so glad that we were able to do that because I think it really like opened up a lot for us.
Yeah, I'm so glad you exposed us to it because honestly, like, I wouldn't have thought, let me go out and read this book on boundaries. And I've referred my other friends to say, hey, you might need to check this book out. I
Yeah,
promise you,
so
it's going to help you pull
it's
your life
definitely
together.
gonna be a law recommendation. We'll do some things around that. Like, what do you think is like, what was like the greatest benefit from like reading that?
I think my greatest benefit was setting boundaries in my personal relationships, like what my expectations are and really holding true to those and not feel it because I'm a person that I'm realizing that, if I hear a whole lot of voices and people telling me different things, it's easy for me to waver.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, this is my core, this is who I am, this is how I expect you to treat me, this is what I will deal with, this is what I will not deal with, and really hold firm to that.
Yeah.
And not feel bad if somebody says, no, I'm not going to do this, or I don't want to deal with this. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. But this is what
for
works
me,
for me.
it was the same thing, and just like being comfortable and okay with that boundary, you know, and like not wavering. And so I think oftentimes we as women, we're like, should we set this? No, I'm not going to set it. I need to set it. No, I'm not going to set it. But, you know, not wavering it and being okay with, you know, however a particular person or organization or whoever you're dealing with that boundary, however they respond to that, that is how they're going to respond. But for you, you needed to set that. And this is what it looks like for you.
And I think in my experience, once I set those boundaries, in a work conversation I had, as well as in personal conversations I've had, I think people honored it and they respected it. I mean, at first, I know in my personal relationships, people were like, oh, she said that to me. And I'm like, yes, yes, ma'am, I did. This is where I am. This is how I feel. Okay, are you with that? Okay, or no?
Yeah, and I think people do. You know, from experience, I definitely believe people do honor that. It's like you're in your head, you may think, oh my God, this is not going to go off well. But that's total opposite.
Yeah. I think people really want to know how you want to be treated. And, you know, if we don't set those boundaries, they'll just do whatever. But once you say, no, you can't treat me that way, or you can't say those things to me and think that it's okay, then they're like, oh, okay, it's a different standard. I need to honor that standard if I value the relationship with you.
I feel you, cuz. I feel you. Well, thank you for coming on Lincoln All Women. And do you have anything else that you want to share, any pearls of wisdom for the ladies, so we can continue to power through setting our boundaries, you know, and making sure that we show gratitude?
I think the key thing that has really kept me grounded throughout this entire time, and I know if you're a Christian, you hear it in church all the time, grace, grace, extend yourself grace. Everything's not going to be perfect. Some days you're going to have a great day. Other days, not so much, but tomorrow, God willing, you get to see another day, try again. Just extend yourself grace. Extend yourself grace, extend your children grace, your loved ones, those that you value. Just know that everybody has different things going on. Like I realized even with my 5-year-old, her mind, she has a whole lot of little things going on. So she might have a bad day. So it doesn't benefit her or me to get frustrated if she's having a bad day. Let's figure it out. Okay, you having a bad day? Go take a rest. I'm extending you some grace. And we're going to try this thing again tomorrow. So extend yourself grace. It's not that bad. You're not perfect, nor is anyone else.